What's going on, world? Welcome back to the pod, season 2, episode 15. My name is Marco Polo, M.Polo 517.
And it's at no name underscore 3.0. Welcome to the pod. And tonight, we got a guest for y'all. This brother here has been doing good things in the community, for years. And amongst all his accolades, he's an author, poet, and a community activist. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Nathaniel Hakim Crampton to the pod. Welcome to the pod, brother.
What up, man? What up, though? Thank y'all for having me in Soldier Salute. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yes. How you feeling, my brother?
Man, it's life is a struggle. We go through the ups and we go through the downs, and we put up the best fight we can. So, I'm always in a fight, always bruised, but hey, you know what I mean? I'm here.
Yeah, still fighting. That's long as you still fighting.
So we're gonna do right here for the people that's not familiar with you. You know what I'm saying? Where was you born and raised at?
The beautiful thing about where we come from is there's always a story to our background, and I've been proud to be first generation born from my family that migrated to Jackson, Michigan in 1964. Me and all my first cousins, we first generation born as from Southern migrants in the Jack, and my mother's address, which appears on my birth certificate, is 217 West South Street, which is just a few houses from South Jackson and South Street, and that's always been my ancestral birth. It's been my grandmother's house for all my life. And so, yeah, straight out the Jack, man, 517.
That's what's up. So what was that Jacktown life like in your younger days?
My relationship with Jackson has been, it's been interesting. Just like you having been raised in that early crack era, it had a heck of an impact on us. And before the crack era really hit, though, being bred on Biddle and Mechanic Street, in the 70s, I lived on Biddle Mechanic in 1976 and stayed there till about 79. And then my father, of course, stayed there all the way till 83. And so Biddle Mechanic has always been, a home to us. And so, early on, the breakdance era came, graffiti era, and the crack era. I got a chance to experience all of that, and got a chance to see the beauty of Jackson and what it used to be and what it used to look like. Southeast Little League. I grew up with everybody in the whole entire Southeast Little League, right? And so I've had that experience, man. And one of the things that was a tipping of the iceberg of my experiences for me was 1985, when DA, Dwayne Anderson, got shot. That really changed the ball game for what life was to be like for myself and for my generation, and it had a significant impact in our community, and so,
I want to say shout out Lovely. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the homie, man.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. So
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you can go ahead and ask the question.
No, I was just gonna say, with your upbringing, did you move around a lot, or was you kind of like posted in, one spot? I heard you.
Yeah, I moved around a lot. We stayed south really pretty much for the early part of our life into the mid 80s. They built the Shahan in 1982. We moved into Shahan in 1982 before they even built the Mormon Drive side, what we used to call the new projects. Everything on the Mormon Drive side back then, we called the new projects because we lived in them before they was built, and so, but I stayed on the north side from 82 until 86. And that was pretty much it. We left and went to the downtown area, really what they call the Abbey Villas today, which is Van Buren. And we stayed in Van Buren from 86 to 89. In 89, to 91, I lived in Lansing, Michigan. I went up there. My mother tried to get me away from all the problems that I was constantly having in Jackson, constantly being locked up in juvenile home, constantly on probation, constantly catching cases, and not able to really escape, arrest and incarceration in Jackson, so to speak. So I went to Lansing, and Lansing really opened me up to the real pitfalls and dangers of the deepest layers of the dope game. And that was the final formative years of me on the streets, really. All the issues and troubles I really got into in my life at the highest levels of the crack era really happened for me and unfolded in Lansing between 89 and 91. And I unfortunately got locked up there, got caught with a pistol, and got locked up. And my probation officer was essentially like, look, if you don't leave the state of Michigan, your judge is going to violate you because I had got in 5 fights in the county jail. So we're going to violate you, and send you to prison for 2 years for the pistol. So I went on ahead and went to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, man. It's so-called Start Fresh. Job Corps was going to accept me if I came to them with a GED. And before I could even get a chance to acquire my GED, I got locked up in Milwaukee on an unsolved homicide that happened up there. I got in a fight at the liquor store. They got me in custody. It was they had an unsolved murder that happened 3 weeks prior to that. They played an interrogation game, began questioning us about the murder that none of us knew anything about, me and a couple of my friends. After about 5-6 days in the city jail, one of the little homies, he believed the police story that we had confessed to the murder, and none of us had confessed. So he confessed and ultimately agreed to testify against us, man. I was stuck with a 45-year life sentence at the age of 18 in 1991 in Milwaukee. So it took me 15 years to win my freedom, man. I was up in there really focusing on changing my life and rebuilding my life, trying to figure out what happened to me. What happened to that young kid that was a graffiti artist, a break dancer. And then after DA got shot, I went to get me a pistol. And then ever since DA got shot, I always had a pistol. I never lived without a pistol since then. So I wanted to discover why that became my life, why I ultimately made those choices. So while I was there 15 years, I pretty much studied conditions of our community, the conditions that ultimately produced me. So when I won my freedom in 2006, man, that's why I came home to my community, really fighting to insert my voice in a community that was voiceless. In a community that was really scared to stand up and challenge the status quo and the systems that produced the poverty of our community, that produced the gentrification of our community. And so that's where I've been, man, since I've been home, really working to fight to make sure our voices aren't left out, make sure our experiences aren't left out.
Right. So, okay, let's go back to a second. You say graffiti artists, break dancing. Let's take it back to Jackson, because remember, for me, they was like, am I right? Bones Capone?
Yeah, Bones Capone came a little later, actually. Bones Capone came in 86. My cousin Jeff Poole gave me that name.
Okay, so I remember around the time y'all had the nanny goats and all that, and you took it like the Lansing days to the Milwaukee. So
I guess I want to say, were you a part of the crack era? Were you a part of that?
Oh, yeah. I can name all the individuals that was on the block with us back in 85, 86, 87. You know what I mean? And yeah, we was out there, unfortunately, and we got trapped out there. We didn't really know no better because it was something that had just blossomed in our community so quick and so fast. Like I say, 1 year we was breakdancing, spray paint graffiti. DA got shot that year. The next summer we was out there selling dope and carrying pistols to protect ourselves.
Right. So we get back to Milwaukee, right? That's a place you normally visit because you have family there?
Yep. I have been visiting Milwaukee since 1983. My older sister, who will be 60 this year, her son, my nephew, was born in Milwaukee in 1983. And so ever since then, we've been going back and forth to Milwaukee.
Okay, so I'm looking like, so that was November 91. And your co-defendant was Joe Robinson, right?
Yeah.
For that crime. You want to speak on that? Like, how did that even happen?
Yeah, so essentially on November 5th, we went to the liquor store at about 1:40 in the morning because we knew it was about to close at 2. We had been smoking weed, drinking, and just chilling, doing what we do as young people at that time. We got to the liquor store. The people who owned the liquor store, some Arabs I was kind of cool with, so I kind of respected them, and they was putting me out the store because I was drunk and I was acting a fool. And so as I was walking out the store, I bumped into a young cat. I ended up meeting him later in life in prison. We became very close. Our stories were very similar. But I bumped into him, and I took offense to it because I was drunk, and I waited for him to come outside. When he came outside, I put hands on him. Now that fight led to us being arrested that night. So once we got into custody, the police began playing an interrogation game, asking us about an unsolved murder that happened 3 weeks prior to getting arrested on November 5th of 1991. None of us knew nothing about the murder. The murder happened October 17th of 1991. A Mexican immigrant named Fernando Peralta was killed on the street corner, 51st and Hampton. He was robbed and killed, and there was witnesses to it, and et cetera. So once we got into custody, they started playing an interrogation game, essentially telling each of us that the others had confessed to the murder that none of us knew nothing about. So on like the 5th or 6th day, a young man named Mark Henry, who was my homie, we was cool, he lived around the corner from me, he believed the police that I had confessed. He believed the police that my homie Joe Robinson had confessed, with neither one of us confessed whatsoever. But because he believed him, he went on ahead and confessed and signed a statement saying they did it. So he was able to get off while we went to prison. And so that's really, make a long story short, that's ultimately what happened. And I was sentenced to 45 years in prison.
So this guy you got into it with at the store, this wasn't even the guy that they accused you of the homicide. It was two different guys.
Totally unrelated. Yeah, totally unrelated. That was just a battery case. They gave me 9 months, ran a concurrent with the 45-year sentence I already had.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, so 91, you was about what, 18?
Yeah, I was 18 years old.
Yeah. That's good. So after, doing your time, once you get into, settled in, and you how long were you in there before you got to come back on appeal or anything like that?
Yeah, so I was in there full 15 years, man. Really just shy of 15 years by about a month is really what it ultimately turned out to be. They transferred me to Oklahoma in 1998. Wisconsin prison did, sentenced to private prisons. And it was while I was there that the Wisconsin Innocence Project picked up my case from Reuben Hurricane Carter's organization. If you remember the movie Hurricane that Denzel Washington played his life, that man started an organization in Canada called Association Defense of the Wrongly Convicted. They picked up my case and handed it off to the Wisconsin Innocence Project, and they began fighting for me to get home. And it took me about, 4 more years after they picked up my case for me to actually get home. And what they did was they took my case to the Wisconsin parole chairman, whose name was Leonard Wells, who used to be a Milwaukee police lieutenant, who happened to be on the force with the same black detective named Ray Farmer, who ultimately is the one that's responsible for really setting us up for this case. And so he met with my attorneys from the Innocence Project, investigative journalists who had wrote stories about my case. My mother was president, and he agreed to let me go. And so he let me go on parole. I never ever was able to get vindicated, get my name clear to this case. And so ever since 2006, 18 years ago, I've been stuck on parole in the city of Jackson, Michigan. And according to the sentence I received, I still have 12 more years left of parole to go. So it's really been a challenge for me.
Wow. That's unreal. Wow, that's unreal, man. So you still on parole today?
Still on parole right now today.
Wow.
Got to report every month.
That's unheard of, man.
So unheard of.
So you kind of with the knowledge you gained in the penitentiary, you got out, and that's what made you really getting into being an activist. Because I heard you say like the community was silenced, like nobody was speaking up, And so is that what made you kind of, get into that?
It is. What I learned is that, the condition of young black men like myself who found ourselves in the penitentiary, and many people are in the penitentiary innocent, but of course, many people are in there because of things that they, grown to become accustomed to in their communities. Selling hope, individuals get killed and robbed and stuck up, and all kind of things happen in our communities that lead to people in prison. While I was there, I became to really understand that most of us really aren't there simply because we bad people, and most of us, shouldn't be there as long as we are there. So I started making the connections to understand what political forces were in play, what sociological factors are really in play that lead to the conditions of the Black community being in the circumstances it's in. And so after really digesting all of that, I knew that I had an obligation, I felt, to come back to my community and share that experience, share that knowledge, and use it as a fight, in our community to really change and challenge some of the real issues that lead to our young kids being stuck in the conditions that they're in. Because, I feel to a great extent, partly responsible for the role I played in the streets. I did a lot of dirt in the streets, and I'm sure the dirt that I did influenced a lot of people. I know a lot of people came up under the streets, up under me, that was heavily influenced by the life that I was living, And so I wanted to make sure I was able to give critical analysis to that lifestyle.
So with you being sentenced to 45 years, how'd you keep your faith, though? Like, a lot of people will give up.
Yeah.
How'd you keep your faith, though?
When we're younger, we be hotheads. That's a good question.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a phenomenal question. And, I think it's one of the reasons I ultimately started doing poetry. I saw it as really poetic justice. Because I had gotten away with a lot of stuff, man, in my community, and I was thankful and blessed that I was still alive. Because I got shot and left for dead in 1990 in Detroit on Pearson and Tireman. Cats left me for dead, thought they killed me, and emptied out the house and pretty much left me there. But I was still alive, and I woke up the next day. And so it really was like I realized that what I'm going through right now, that it's a purpose to it. And so that's what really kept me strong and kept me faithful. I knew that there had to be a greater purpose for me serving this predicament I'm in. Like, there was no reason why, I felt that I should be in prison for something I didn't do, where I had done some dirt. I shot some people in our community. I harmed some people in my community. You know what I'm saying? And I had essentially gotten away with it. And so here I am now in prison for murder that I absolutely didn't do, a murder I don't even know nothing about. And so I really looked at that as an opportunity to change who I am, to grow as an individual. And so I got real strong in the penitentiary, practiced spiritual discipline, wrote a lot of books, was actively involved in activism from the prison system in all actuality. I made, front headline newspaper in the state of Wisconsin multiple times, from doing the work that I was doing inside the prison system. I led a lot of movements in the prison system. That's one of the reasons why they shipped me to Oklahoma. They wanted to get rid of all of their so-called gang leaders and all of their influential figures inside the prison system. So they sent us to Oklahoma. And even from down there, we still used our voice. Even from down there, I made it to BET. They did a segment on me on Rap City The Basement for all the work I was doing in the fashion industry from inside the prison system, and so I just really, really tapped into who I was supposed to be, that I never got a chance to be. So I did all that, tapped into that, while I was in the penitentiary, and made sure I brought that home with me.
So when did you know when you had a good chance of coming home? What was that moment like? Or was you didn't think it might happen, or did you just stay positive and knew it was going to happen?
I always knew it was going to happen one day because I knew I wasn't supposed to be there. So this is really what happened. When I went to trial, there was really no evidence whatsoever against me. Everyone who attended my trial knew they should have came back with a not guilty verdict. But I went back to my trial lasted 6 days. And so on the 6th day, on the weekend, I heard they said they had a verdict. And so I went to the back of the tier and I went and prayed. And this was only about 7-8 months into my incarceration. And I said to myself in my prayer, I said, if I'm gonna get back out into the world and be the same individual I am, then let me be found guilty. You see what I'm saying? Let me be here until I can figure out who I'm supposed to be. I said, but you know what I'm saying? If I'm ready to go out there to the world, then I should be found not guilty of something I didn't do. And when I walked in that courtroom and they said guilty, I knew that it was a real destiny, that I wasn't supposed to be out here in this world. And I knew I had some work in front of me. And so that's why I was able to really maintain a strength of focus, determination, and purpose to walk whatever down I had to walk down, because I knew I had gotten away, with so many things in the community, particularly in Lansing. The things I did in Lansing, I ain't proud of one bit. You know what I'm saying? I shot a lot of people and I took some bullets as well. And I knew I had a purpose with that experience, where I had survived the streets that I experienced.
Okay, so
powerful.
I was reading. Your mother had recorded a recording. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
You come home. You know, rest her soul. Great lady. I met her like a couple of times over there in the Cheyenne. No, I met her
Yeah.
the crossroad before it was all that other shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was like
Yeah.
pivotal.
Yeah. 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 My mother, what she did for me was pivotal to me getting home. You know, it was a lot to how I got home. And so essentially what happened was this. After I got found guilty, my mother said, because my mother always believed in me, and my father actually hired a private investigative firm to really investigate whether or not I was innocent or not, because he really wanted to help. And so my mother, she was like, do you think this man who testified and lied against you would talk to you on the telephone? And I said, I don't see why not. She said, I'm going to hook a recorder to the phone and we're going to call him. And this is before I got sentenced. So we called this man on the phone. We talked to this man on 3 different occasions. We recorded about 90 hours of secretly tape recorded video, not video footage, but audio recordings of us. And I asked this man on the phone, like, man, what happened? Why is you lying in court? Why did you come to court and lie on me? He told the whole story, essentially, that prosecutors knew we were innocent, the detectives knew we were innocent, but he said that they basically, you know what I'm saying, because of how they already told him that if he now recants his testimony, that they're going to charge him with perjury. He said he had no choice but to confirm his testimony because he was scared they was going to charge him and send him to prison for 80 to 90 years because that's what they told him. So we got all that on tape, man. And we use that as our evidence constantly to battle in the Court of Appeals, in the Supreme Court, etc. And I kept getting split decisions in the court. 2 judges ruling against me, 1 judge ruled in my favor. And so that was ammunition that allowed, investigative journalists to know I was innocent, to allow attorneys to understand that I was innocent because we had these tapes. This man had no, real motive to lie to me on the phone. He didn't know he was being secretly tape recorded. And we were just kicking conversation. You know what I'm saying? Everyday conversation about what happened, how we got stuck in this situation. And he told the whole truth. And I had those tapes. Now today, I have those audio tapes. I've never released them like public or anything, but I have those tapes right now to this day. And our attorneys had transcripts of those tapes produced. So I got all of the evidence, man, that really show that I was innocent and shouldn't be stuck in this predicament I'm in.
So what was their motive on letting you home, but giving you that lengthy parole sentence? Like, what was they just wanted to say, just in case he might do something else different. Like, they just want to hold something over your head. I don't understand that.
Yeah, but see, unfortunately, that's how Wisconsin operates. Wisconsin's parole system is not like Michigan's. In Michigan, no matter the time you get sentenced to, if they ever parole you, they're going to just monitor you for 2 years, at most, or so 3 to 4 years or whatever. And if you don't do bad, you don't violate, they let you go. Wisconsin system isn't like that. I was sentenced to 45 years in 1991. My sentence isn't over till 2036. And so therefore, because I got out on parole, according to the Wisconsin law, my sentence isn't over till 2036. It's only 2024 right now. So I still got 12 more years according to their law. There's literally hundreds of people in the state of Wisconsin just like me. My case really isn't much different than a lot of other people in Wisconsin. There's hundreds of people, probably thousands of people, been stuck on parole for 5, 10, 15, 20 years back in the city and state of Wisconsin.
So you still got to report?
Still got to report every single month.
Wow, that's crazy.
Every single month. And I've always had to report every single month since I've been home 18 years.
Have you had any violations or any problems on parole?
Well, ironically and unfortunately, I have. And it's only been one situation. And it was a situation involving a relationship. My ex, unfortunately, called my parole agent and told my parole agent I had moved out 6 months prior. Then I told my agent I moved out. And it was true. And I acknowledge that. And that's because, you're in a relationship with someone and we was, breaking up. And so over a 6-month period, we didn't work things out the best way. So I happened to own my own house. So I had been staying the night back in my house, over the 6-month period. So when it was determined between her and I that I wasn't going to return to her house, that I was going to stay in my house, I informed her, I'm going to stay in my house. I'm going to let my parole agent know. Well, she took that, in a different way and went to my parole agent and decided to tell the whole truth that I had been living in my house for 6 months. And because of that, I got a violation, was forced to do 10 days in the Jackson County Jail and put on a bracelet for 60 days. And this was in 2000. 14. So I had been out of prison at this time 8 years already with absolutely no violations, no police contact. And even that violation really in itself isn't any form of criminal violation. They consider that to be a technical rule violation. My rule violation was failing to inform my parole agent in a timely fashion of where I had moved to. So that's the only situation I really had. I did get pulled over before after 11 o'clock at night, and I got detained by Jackson Sheriff Department for what they call a curfew violation, because me being on parole with the homicide conviction, I'm technically supposed to be in the house at 11 o'clock every single night, right? So I essentially live on house arrest as a result of me being on parole. So yeah, I've had police contact after 11 and got locked up one time.
So you still got curfew now?
Technically, kind of technically, I still do. You know what I mean? And the beautiful thing about my life at this stage in life is that, I never allow those people to control me to this extent ever again in life. So should I be at home at 11 o'clock or should I not be at home at 11 o'clock? I really don't care, because I'm not going to really let them really take control over my life like that. I'm a grown man in my 50s. I've been out 18 years, gainfully employed. You know what I mean? I'm not a threat to society and civilization. So therefore, I wish they would have some type of contact with me after 11 o'clock and lock me up. I'm going to drag them through the front page of every headline around the country, because there's no reason for them to be supervising and monitoring me of that nature, period.
It seems like when you touch down, you hit the ground running, quick, So for some people, it's a hard transition. Was it easy, or was it some hurdles you had to go through?
It is a difficult transition for people to come home, but I had really been preparing for, all the whole time I was locked, because I always knew that one day I was going to get out. I just didn't know when. So I really wanted to be prepared. I had, gained the necessary knowledge that I needed to make the successful transition. I had put the money up aside that I needed to start my own business when I first came home. So before I even had a job, I had to launch my first business within the first week of me coming home. So, I had a couple supports. I still had a mother who was supporting me at that time. I stayed with my mother for the first 2 months before I was able to branch out on my own. So I had that support, which is crucial. A lot of people don't have family support. My cousin Poole gave me a vehicle. I had that for about a month before I grabbed my own vehicle. That supported me. And so it was a couple people that stepped up and looked out for me, when I came home. A couple people here and there gave me $100 here and there. And and that was a blessing too. You know what I'm saying? A couple homies I grew up with in the hood, looked out. I came home with some money myself. A lot of people don't take the time to really develop a plan about coming home from prison. But I developed a full-scale plan about exactly what I was going to do and how I was going to do it, and I stuck to that plan.
That's what's up.
Great.
So what you doing now?
Moving forward, I would like to just ask, what do you think it takes now for our community to, change a little bit, man, with all the stuff that's going on? What do you see that it needs?
Yeah. We really have to hold ourselves accountable at this stage and age right now, man, for the way we live in our lives. A lot of us have fallen victim to the sociological factors that gave birth to who we are, that gave birth to the neighborhoods that we grew up in, to the experiences we had, whether that was somebody growing up in the 80s or the 90s or the young generation growing up in the 2000s, man. We have to really take a stock look at how we're continuing to perpetuate life for the next generation of kids. Man, we really have to do that at the personal level, first and foremost, as a collective group, in order to really forecast what's to be our future. Are we content with the way our life is? I don't think we really are in our hearts, and I think in order to really change that, we got to take first and foremost accountability of how we're living our lives and our own mindsets about life, and then secondly, we really have to get involved with changing the direction of what's happening within our community. So that means that some of us got to get involved politically. Some of us got to Got to choose a different a career path, intentionally choose career paths where we haven't had a voice at. You know, where our experience and our expertise of life that we've lived needs to be inserted. We need to be on nonprofit boards right now to help shape the vision, because there's a lot of nonprofits in our community that's getting dollars to service our community, and their boards don't look like us. Their vision don't look like us. Their employees that's reaping money from nonprofit dollars are going into the pockets of people who live in suburban Jackson communities, but they're supposed to be serving us in housing, in education, right? And in healthcare and all these different fields, even in politics, right? Supposed to be serving our best interests. And the reality is this: in 1960s, we as a Black community, in the Southeast Black community, that don't exist no more, because the Belden Project took away our community over there where the Franklin Homes is at, where the Chalet Terrace is at, and across the street, that whole Lewis Glick Highway, that was a neighborhood. All them streets over there where all them factories is at, them was all the Black neighborhood. When we had that Black neighborhood in the 60s, our home ownership was higher. Our businesses, we had banks in this community. The first Black bank in Michigan was in Jackson, Michigan, not Detroit. It was in Jackson, Michigan. We had lawyers, right? We had bars that we owned. We had liquor licenses. We had businesses in this community. They destroyed it and took that from us. Now our mortality rates is higher. You know what I'm saying? Our literacy rates are lower, right? Our graduation rates are lower. Our home ownership is lower. We ain't got no better since the 60s. So that's saying that even what's happening right now today, we got 4 Black elected leaders on our city council. That don't show and prove that we've actually gained anything as a result of that, because statistically, we are falling behind that we were in the 60s. And that spells doom for our community. And we got to do something about that if we're going to really change the future of us to exist and survive in this community.
But it's all about people fear what they don't understand. So you think it'll take money? You think it'll take a powerful person to really put that backing in towards us to build a better, with a utopia, whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do we get, you put people in position, like, no disrespect, but I'm just saying, but they can only do what they do.
Right.
They don't have the power they want to do. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So what do we need? Is it money? We just need a stronger person. What do we need?
Yeah, we definitely need money, but what we need to do is what we do with our money. That's the key, is how we pool our resources together in collectivity. See, you know, as much money as we spend in our community, as much money as we earn in our community, we don't have our own bank. You know, we know what happens when we get our checks, we take them to the white banks, right? And that's the reality. And they're gaining interest off us. They're profiting off of us. We need to centralize our economy. We have to centralize our economy. And that's one of the things that we've always been scared to do as a people, is to do for self. We have to, all the Black businesses we got in our community, you know, that we taking all that money that we earning, and we take it outside of our community to white banks. And it's nothing wrong with a white bank existing in a white community. That's cool. But we need to build our own credit union, our own banking system, so we can really be in control of the financial resources that is being circulated from our community and that we're gaining and earning. So that's just one aspect of it. But two, at the same time, we got to understand the power that we have in our collective voice and vote. See, tax dollars are being generated from home ownership. Tax dollars are being generated for the taxes that we pay on the south side of our community. Tax dollars are being taken from us from the incomes that we earn. And there's a opportunity at the city and local government level to determine how much of that and when those taxes, where they circulate to. They're not circulating back in our community. They're not benefiting our community. So we need to be involved at the political level to make sure that we understand how the circulation of dollars in the economy that's being siphoned from us, right, as being citizens in this community, how it's being used and where it's being used at, because it's really not being used to benefit us. And the reason I say it's not being used to benefit us, because it is. If we suffer, the Black community suffers some of the lowest statistics when it comes to poverty, when it comes to employment, when it comes to skills, right? You know, skills and trades. If we suffer the most, the homicide rate is the highest. If all these things are happening to us, why aren't a priority being placed on this community? Why aren't the tax dollars being shifted to rebuild this community? Instead, it's being gentrified. And you look at the South Side in 10 years is going to be majority white, and we ain't going to be having a home no more.
And you look at, like, regardless of nationality, it's all bad seeds in every nationality. But why was we judged different? Like, why is that a thing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Bad that and everything. So
absolutely.
I feel we was tricked. We was tricked really because when way before time we had the upper hand. Everything was in our favor. But like we end up getting tricked out of our spot. Basically, is what happened.
Yeah.
Um, once the races split. Once Africa split up. And the forces that was against us, they was cast off the caves and things like that. So, with that being said, we were still living in the tropic weather, living like kings. But while they was in them caves, man, they did something way more powerful than we could ever do. And they was thinking. They became mechanical. That's where you get, they built the wheel and all this shit like that because they became mechanical and they used their brain to put it where it is now. Is just my theory of how.
Well, yeah, it definitely designs. There's a lot of historical diabolical thought process went into global colonialism, right? To attempt to dominate and control humanity, and that's what's happening. We've been a victim of that, and here we are, hundreds of years after colonialism, and our communities are still colonized, but psychologically we still colonized because we've been indoctrinated to Western thought processes, Eurocentric thought processes, and then we impose those thought processes within our community upon our people, and we treat our people that way, and by design, it's a Willie Lynch style design. Whether Willie Lynch was a real figure or not, the actual design to pit people against themselves, particularly people of color and indigenous people, it worked. And it's been working. And that's why I said the first thing I said was that we have to take self-accountability first. We have to break the chains and cycles of that indoctrination and become a free people, a real free thinking, free minded people that do for self. The Chinese do for self. The Mexicans do for self. The Europeans do for self. But they want us to be completely dependent upon the Eurocentric system and ideal of life. And that's not who we are. That's just not who we are.
Because we came up on, we don't know where to go. We don't know how to move. So if you see your neighbor shining, then we go against your neighbor just because you need what your neighbor got. That's how the plan was set up for you to do that. It was kind of genius, but it was lame at the same time. You know what I'm saying? But that's just
diabolical. It was diabolical.
I want to ask you, you feel like, okay, like, do you feel like the big homie era, like we had big homies, do you feel like the big homie is missing? You know what I'm saying? Like nobody talking to the youth now. They just doing whatever they want to do.
Yeah, we definitely see when I was growing up, the few people we had that was like, baseball coaches, basketball coaches, those were the twos and fews of the mentors that we had. But we were just being impacted by the crack epidemic. And nobody knew what to do about that was affecting us. The police didn't know what to do. Our parents didn't know what to do. So everybody essentially blamed the kids, blamed us for falling victim to us not having proper guidance that was needed for us in that time. So I don't think we ever really developed a adequate, sufficient big homie a system in our community. There was always, a few big homies for certain people here and there, but I never really had a big homie that I can remember because my daddy, was a hustler. That was my big homie. I always wanted to be a hustler like my daddy. I don't remember anybody really trying to instill nothing positively in me, but I do want to highlight one person. And that was Will Brown, the own WBs. He used to see me walking down the Walker Street with a pager in my pocket, and he used to come out the store and he would say, "Man, what is you on? What you on? You a dope dealer or something?" And I was a dope dealer, so I didn't understand the relation, and I wasn't able to pick up on the wisdom that he was trying to impart to me. You know what I'm saying? But he was the only one I can remember who used to step up to me and challenge me on the life I was living. And like I say, I don't think it was enough individuals willing to step to us and challenge us for the lifestyle we was living.
And to stay on some Jackson shit, what you just said is what people don't understand. WB, much love to WB.
Yes, sir. Salute to that, brother.
He had the store in Milwaukee before Muhammad, back when we was kids. He owned that. You know what I'm saying? I just want to say that for the people that don't know.
Yeah, but he bought it from the Worthies. You know what I'm saying? It was the Worthies first, and then it was WBs.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, it's like I'm thinking like the younger generation, like they go through so many things, you know, friend get hurt, friend get killed, friend get hurt. You can't really stop that. So my observation of it is you got to start with the younger ones to change. That's the only way you can change it. You know what I'm saying? Because they checking points, scoreboard. Yo, he did this to me, I'm doing it to them. So that ain't gonna stop, in my opinion. You got to start with the, you know, the younger generation and build them up to, you know,
Right.
like
Elementary kids, you know, kids are like sponges. So,
Yeah.
you know, you got to start.
That's why I did. That's where most of my work has been at in the schools. You know, people know me for working at McCulloch, working at Jackson High, you know, working at T.A. Wilson. I worked for years in the schools, you know, and I want to say this about 4 years ago. I went, you know, at the height of some of the gang activity in our community where a lot of kids, young kids were getting shot and killed. You know, I had to go and sit down with some of these kids that I knew them directly. They was in my classrooms and they became some of the gang leaders in our community who was out here popping people. So I went to one of them to a house. He in the penitentiary right now for shooting somebody. But I went to his crib and sat down with him and said, man, you know me, right? You respect me. He told me, yeah, I love you, man. I said, man, well, what can I do? And this is what he told me flat out. He said, Hakim, he said, ain't nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do, man. He says, it's too late. That's what he told me. And it hurt my heart because I understood that he believed that in his heart and soul, that it was essentially too late for him. And this is one of the young kids who he's a contributor to one of my curriculum books. And in the curriculum book, he wrote his story about how he was going to escape the streets, escape getting shot and killed in the streets. And he became one of the shooters out here. And he said, man, it's too late now. And that really hurt my soul because what you just said is so true, that we got to catch them early on, man. We got to catch them before they get influenced, before they get, you know, before they jump off the porch, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, that's deep, I mean, because you can't stop the war when somebody started it. You know what I mean? So how can you change? You got to get to you first and just recreate a whole nother thing. And I'm gonna say too, these women really doing great. Good job. They raise the kids up right now. But the ones that's bad, you really can't change that, man. I've been a bad guy. You know what I'm saying? I've been, but you know, some people don't get the light bulb in their head to learn this ain't for me. Sometimes you go too far where there ain't no turning back. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
You know. So what's your biggest accomplishment since you came home, though? What you love that you did the most?
Man, I'm really proud of the fact that I have got a chance to work in the schools with our kids, because most people, you know, coming home with felony convictions, they ain't allowed to work in the schools. You know, they ain't allowed to work in the school system. You know, I done had dozens of contracts directly with schools. You know what I mean? I done worked for organizations that have me working in schools. And so, you know, to me, that's the biggest accomplishment because that's why I slipped through the cracks in life. You know, I got kicked out of school at Hunt School in the 6th grade and caught a case, got locked up. My first felony, I was 11 years old, you know, and then people, it forever changed my life for being a felon at the age of 11. But other than that, you know, a lot of people would like to think that my greatest accomplishment was me being appointed by the governor to a 4-year term on the Michigan Energy and Defense Commission as the commissioner. But that really wasn't my greatest accomplishment whatsoever, really. You know, that was great for the purpose in which it served itself, for me being able to have a role in formating our public defense system in the state of Michigan. I am proud of that, to have had my voice there for 4 years and helped shape a lot of the policies of the last 4 policies that we enacted that got passed by legislation. So, you know, I've done a lot of great things since I've been home. You know, I published, 8 books since I've been home. You know, I've won awards all across the country. You know, I've won the top Hot 100 Billboard, Spoken Word Billboard Awards. So I've done a lot of things since I've been home, you know, and I know that my mother would have been proud of me for all the things, and my pops as well. So, you know, our biggest accomplishment, though, like I said, is being able to work in the schools with our kids.
You ever thought about
accomplishments?
Get the funding, like where you could have somewhere where you could have like a daily, like summertime, you know, because we used to have things at the parks where somebody mentor the kids. You ever thought about having somewhere where you could talk to the kids like summertime, you know, when everybody's off, you know what I'm saying? We could like bring them in and try to school them, you know, school them on school and real life at the same time?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And this is just a brief hint. You know, I'm working on one of the biggest projects perhaps Jackson is gonna see for a black man. You know, since we had a bank in Jackson, like it's gonna be a big deal what I'm trying to work on right now. Yeah, so I am working on brokering a major project in our community that's gonna function as not only a location, a definitive center, educational center, community center, but it's going to serve as a real genuine opportunity for us with ownership in our own community, something that means something at each of those levels, at the academic, the educational level, the community-based level, et cetera. So hopefully I'll be making some real serious announcements in the next coming months.
That'd be a great thing right there.
And feel free to always come back when you get ready to, you know, when you get
performance for you.
Yes, sir, for sure.
So we do, you know,
man. You know, what else you got coming up that you're involved in?
Yeah, you know, I started the Southside Festival series in 2019. If you remember, see that big old beautiful mural right there on Francis Street on that white building across from the barbershop. You know, that whole thing was my idea. I brought in all the artists. And we ultimately, you know, got a chance to put that mural up on the wall and kick off what became the Southside Festival series. And so this is our 6th year. We're going to continue doing the festival series in the heart of our community. We got some big plans coming up, you know, some other new locations on the South Side we're going to be doing our work at. And it's a real opportunity for Black businesses to really have a space and a place during the summertime to actually engage our community. We've never had our own festival, not had our own festival, we never had any consistency of a festival besides, of course, the South Side Reunion and the East Side Reunion, which used to come every other year, and there was only one time, you know, and it was a great thing in our community, and I'm glad we got a chance to see it last year come back. But what we've accomplished with the Southside Festival series has been nothing short of creating, you know, a cultural institution in our community that we've never, ever had before. And that's a big accomplishment in itself. So we will be launching the 2024 Southside Festival series. Dates are going to be coming up this year. Marco Polo, I've seen you step through many times, come through and enjoy the festivities, you know. And so, yeah, we're coming back again.
Are they going to repaint the Black Lives Matter this year?
We gonna try to definitely do that. You know, the problem with the paint that we've been getting, you know, has been wearing off, and for some reason, you know, that paint hasn't been lasting and staying, and so we didn't want to keep wasting because it costs about a little over $2,000 to paint that. But if we can consistently get the money every year, we'd do it every year. You know what I'm saying? Really, we would. You know, and it costs a lot to put on the festival series. And so if we keep raising money, we're going to keep doing it. But that is part of the plans this year is to repaint the Black Lives Matter right on High Street this year. Yes, sir.
One thing I like about it, you know, I always pop up, like you said, I always pop up. But the one thing I love about it so much, I know you proud of, is everybody be there. Well, no matter what color you is, like everybody be there. You know what I mean? And I be like, that's a great thing. You know what I'm saying? Nice venue. Mm-hmm. Shut the city down one day. I pop up.
A lot of businesses actually come from the Southside Festival and blow into real businesses.
Yeah.
Like brick and mortar businesses. So it's a good thing for owners and you know, community activists like yourself, you know.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Some businesses that exist that got brick and mortar right now, the very first time they ever set up as a business was at Southside Festival Series. And some of them got their own actual physical locations now across the city.
Shout out to Ray Rod, Wing of the Ends, you know what I'm saying?
For one. Wing of the Ends been killing the game. They was banging out their crib, you know what I'm saying? Getting it. I love it. Southside business.
It's great for us, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man, you know, it's a great thing. That's why we want to get you on this platform, man. You know what I'm saying? Let the world know what you're doing. If they don't already know, it's here, so now they know. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
And I just want to say, it's, you know, it's a wonderful thing, and we need more of you, man. If we could clone you, man, we'd be into something, you know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I've been planting seeds, man, for I've been home 18 years and I've been in these schools for years. I've been planting seeds. So a lot of those seeds are blossoming for various individuals in our community. You might not know they connected to me. You might not know I watered them, but trust me, the clone is out there, man. There's a lot of them, man. A lot of young people that's in their early 20s right now. Some of them in their late 20s too. Because when I first came home, you know, matter of fact, one of the brothers you could ask is Jay Staff's son, Lil Jonathan Stafford. When I first came home, you know, he was in what you call the detention classroom when I used to go and speak to detention. And years later, I ran into that brother and he said, man, he said, I never ever forgot you coming into my classroom speaking to me, man. He said, I always benefited from the things you said to me. He said, I always used that to make sure that I got ahead in life. You know what I'm saying? So it's seeds been planted out there.
Yeah, that's good.
That's what's up. That's what's up, man.
So, you know, anybody you want to shout out, or, you know, now's your chance to anybody you want to shout out, or?
Yeah, I definitely want to shout out my cousin, Deborah Green, whose real name is Deborah Edwards. She married to Terrence Green back in the day. I want to shout her out, man, because, you know, down on Robinson Street, you know, she kicked off a lot of the community activism work on the South Side. When I came home in 2006, she had a nonprofit organization called Happy, helping all people excel. And it was through that opportunity that I used as a platform to really, you know, have an opportunity to access my community, you know, through that nonprofit, you know. So Debbie, man, she get her flowers. She's really the inspiration behind the Southside Festival series. She started a platform in 2007 called the Fall Festival, and then we had at the King Center, and that really gave birth to a lot of the work that I've been doing in my community. So she definitely deserves her flowers, and that's my blood cousin. You know what I'm saying? And you know, so I'm real big on making sure that we give people their flowers who really deserve them. You know, so yeah, I definitely want to shout her out. And then, you know, send a shout out and rest in peace to all those soldiers that we've lost since I grew up, all the way back to Sean Griffin and, you know, those before it as well. So soldier salute to everybody.
Yeah, for sure. Let the people know how they can get in contact with you. You know, give me your handles. You know, you can see more content from you.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I'm on most of the social media sites. You know, my name, Hakim Crampton, Hakim, or Spoken Flow Poet. You can catch me on Instagram as Spoken Flow Poet, on Twitter as Spoken Flow Poet, you know. But yeah, Hakim Crampton. Catch me on all the social media sites. That's where I'm at, man. You know, I work for an organization out in New York called Just Leadership USA. I'm a senior trainer, and I've been working for this organization for 6 years, and it's an organization that gives voice to formerly incarcerated individuals. And what we do is people that's been locked up before and have a real desire to excel their voice and their leadership in their community. You know, the work that I do is we train them. So I go across the country training formerly incarcerated leaders to really elevate their voice and elevate the work that they're doing, their advocacy in their community. And so I want to shout that out. Shout out Just Leadership USA. It was founded in 2014 by Glenn Martin. And the motto of that organization is those closer to the problem are closer to the solution, but furthest from the power and resources. And so that's my real goal, is to get us closest to the power and resources we need to activate our community to success.
I seen a thing, I think it's this Saturday, you speaking on mass incarceration. You want to talk about that? You got something coming up?
Yep, definitely. In Detroit, I forget the name of the center directly, but it's in Detroit, and we'll be speaking on really the impacts of the 13th and 14th Amendment, how these amendments actually created a loophole to maintain a modern form of slavery, of servitude that they call corrections. They call, you know, felon, right? And so by them writing those words into the 13th Amendment, saying that no one should be held in slavery or servitude unless they've been duly convicted of a crime, it created this pathway for mass incarceration. So we're going to dissect that this weekend. We on there with Senator Stephanie Chang. We on there with one of the other state representatives from Detroit and a couple other folks that will be on there presenting as well. And I will be there speaking on this issue.
That's what's up.
Yeah. I don't know, man. You got anything else, Polo?
Well, I just appreciate you being here, my brother. You know, we knew each other a long time, but you know, I just wanted the people to know who you are. That's what we do it for, man.
Yeah, you know.
You can always come back. You always got the open invite, at all times. And I appreciate you, man, for being here. You know, we're going to end it on this note. You know what I mean? Salute. And I appreciate you, my brother.
Yes, sir. So the salute.
All right.
Seeing all the things you got coming up, man, and keep going. I salute you, bro.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So the salute. One love.
All right. Peace.